Good evening runners, and welcome back to another video from me, That Running Girl. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my 28th marathon, which I ran a few weeks ago now, which was the New Forest Marathon in Wimborne, Dorset, and I'm going to be discussing why it was difficult for me personally to run a trail marathon when I had only ever run 27 road marathons. Also going to try and keep this under 10 minutes long because A, it doesn't let me upload otherwise, and B, my bath is running. So I thought if I run a bath and then I can make a video quickly and then I can try and upload onto YouTube while the bath is running. So let's jump straight into it. First of all, I've never run a trail marathon before. The only ever trail races I've done are 10K, 10 mile and half marathon. So in the spring, summer, I do sometimes run 10K, 10 mile and half marathon races off-road, which are a combination of grass and field tracks and gravel, so mixed terrain. But I've never run a whole marathon. The reason I actually signed up for this marathon was because the Abingdon Marathon, which is the marathon I usually run in the autumn in Oxfordshire, was not on this year. So I'm thinking, you know, I want to do a marathon. Didn't do a spring marathon because of COVID. I did Worcester 23 mile, which, you know, was 3 miles short of a marathon, which is really frustrating. So I wanted to do an actual marathon in the autumn. So I signed up for the New Forest Marathon, which looked really beautiful. The route looked really beautiful. And I thought, you know, let's do something different. Let's go and run the New Forest Marathon. How hard can it be? So the first thing I'm going to say before I go through these tips is I think you need, when you're signing up for marathons like I did, to realise if you want to run a good marathon and enjoy it, like if you want to do it in a good time and you want to enjoy it, then you need to decide whether you're going to run a trail marathon or a road marathon. Now, having run 28 marathons and with a PB of 3:17, personally, I think your best bet is a road marathon. You know, it's flat, it's predictable, you don't get any fatigue in your legs. Obviously, you get normal fatigue from running a marathon, but you don't get the fatigue of, you know, mixed terrains beating at your feet and the kind of impact coming up through your legs, which I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, I think you need to decide and identify whether you have your best chance of a PB or your best chance of enjoyment, certainly if it's your first few marathons, is to run a road marathon or run a trail marathon. Also, I think you need to decide on the weather. I was really lucky that the weather was dry when I ran the New Forest Marathon. But if the weather had been wet, I would not have actually been able to run that marathon because I just can't run in wet conditions off-road. So that's another thing. So let's just jump straight into it. The first thing that I think you should bear in mind when you're comparing a road marathon and trail marathon is that sometimes you just have to let your ego go and realise that you can't be a competitor at the event and that you're just a bit of a run tourist. So by this I mean, obviously the amount of races I've done now in 17 years of running and probably about 15 years of racing, is that I've worked myself up to a level where I feel I am a competitor, right? I like striving for age category positions, so like 1, 2, 3 in age cat and the trophies at the end. And if not age cat, I like just, you know, competing in terms of where I finish in the race, you know, my gender position, overall, and my age cat gender position. So when you enter a trail marathon, if you're not that experienced in trail running like I'm not, and you're just kind of going along just to complete it and get round, you need to take away that competitive element and realise that you're literally just a run tourist and you're going to enjoy it, and that's okay. The second thing you need to consider is to know what to expect and potentially tour the course the day before. So knowing what to expect is really important. I literally looked on the Facebook and Instagram posts of New Forest Marathon to kind of determine what the route was going to be like in terms of the pictures that they were uploading. And because it was in like a private estate, around the grounds of the private estate, I thought that it would mostly be on the paths. With a few, you know, gravel tracks and farm tracks. But what I didn't realise is I'd say maybe 80% was farm tracks and fields without actual paths, which is my worst nightmare in terms of running. And then the rest of it was like uphill through very rocky, hard underfoot, kind of gravelly paths through the forests. So again, you need to remember to wear shoes that are trail shoes and that are, you know, suited to the event. Obviously, if you're doing a road race, you need to wear the lightest racers that you can get away with in terms of striking that balance between efficiency and speed and also not getting injured. But if you're doing a trail marathon, I would definitely advise wearing trail shoes, because even though I didn't need them because of the weather being dry, it wasn't like it was slippery and it wasn't slippery underfoot. The constant changing of terrain from, you know, hard gravelly rocks to soft squishy grass really beat my feet up, and literally by about 2 miles in I was in a lot of pain in my feet. So yeah, if I went back and did the half marathon at some point, I would definitely wear a pair of trail shoes. Third thing to consider is to adjust your pace. So this goes again kind of with the competitive, stripping away the competitive element, is you're definitely going to be sort of 20 minutes to half an hour slower on the trail than you are on the road, unless you've, you know, trained for years and years and years on the trail and you're a really good trail runner. That's just something that you have to accept and bear in mind. Set goals and mini goals. So I think a lot of us do this in marathons or in half marathons because it's such a long distance. You might have a sort of reach goal of thinking, oh, you know, I want to run 3:30 marathon, I want to run 3:15 marathon. And then you get to sort of 20 miles, you get 18 miles in and the wheels fall off and you think, oh, actually, you know, looking at your splits, you're not going to be running that time. And then you think to yourself, what can I actually achieve? What can I actually run? So you have mini goals within those overarching reach goals, and you try and get to those. And then realistically, even if it all goes out the window and you don't get your reach goals and you don't get your mini goals, you just literally have the goal of getting to the finish line, which is what I had in my mind when I did the New Forest Marathon, because I think it was my second potentially worst time ever. I don't even remember the time. It was over 4 hours, and my first marathon was over 4 hours, and I think I've only ever done 3 marathons over 4 hours in 28 marathons, and one was my first, one was New Forest, and the other one was when I fell on my face 8 miles in to a marathon and I was in the back of an ambulance for about half an hour. But yeah, other than that, I haven't run more than 4 hours. So, but yeah, once you get to that point, you just think, do you know what? You just think, do you know what? I'm just going to finish. I'm just going to put my ego, put my competitive side out of the window, and I'm just going to finish. The fourth thing to consider is, when all else fails, raid the Nostalgia and Affirmations archive. Now this one was really, it honestly got me through. So you remember all these things that you see on Pinterest and Instagram and TikTok about, you know, if you're thinking about quitting, remember why you start, and winners never quit, quitters never win. I literally had all these phrases just going through my head, because literally from about 2 miles in, I wanted to quit bad. There wasn't one moment in the marathon, aside from maybe a few views, that I enjoyed. I literally hated the whole thing. And for someone who loves running as much as I do, that is crazy. So yeah, just raid all your nostalgic memories, all your kind of, you know, all the memories you have about going out on those really hard runs, training runs, all the training that you've done in preparation for it, all the sort of elements that you've been out in, everything that's thrown a curveball in your training plan. Just think, look, I'm here now, I'm running it, all I have to do is get from the mile on my watch to the finish line, and then I'm done. So the last thing I wanted to focus on was focusing on the people in front of you and around you. And this is a really important thing, I think, because sometimes we can be so isolated in racing and just feel so like we're in this bubble of, you know, just solitary racing, and you're not really taking that much notice of people around you unless they're competitors and you're competing against them. But my tip for when you're running a trail marathon and you're really finding it really difficult, like I did, is to really just soak up the atmosphere around you and try and, you know, just turn your iPod off for a bit if you're wearing a music player, and just connect with people and thank every marshal at the station, because realistically, if the marshals weren't there, then there wouldn't be a race to start with. So just do that, I think, and get through. Because worst case scenario is you get a DNF, did not finish, and as runners we just will not accept that. So My next video, this is actually going to be just under 11 minutes, I think. So I think I've done actually quite well for this, for me. But my next video is going to be on strength training in the gym, because I don't know whether you can tell, but I am slightly more muscly than I used to be. And I've been doing strength training in the gym, and it's been really beneficial to me. I've been mostly doing spinning bike, cross trainer, and a number of different weights, so like free weights and bench weights. But I feel so much stronger as a runner, and I've also been taking some new vitamins. So I've got these vegan vitamins called Star Power, which are actually meant for growing your hair long, because when I had blonde hair, as you'll know if you look through a lot of my videos, my hair was really, really long. But now that my hair's red, I went through a phase of it not growing very well. So I bought these, and I've been taking some Boots vegan multivitamins too. So I might go through a new vitamins video on these in my next video. But yeah, I hope you're all running well, and I just thought I'd give you an update on that. I did actually, after the New Forest Marathon, I did the Hanney 5 mile, and I did the Silverstone Half Marathon, which I was 25th out of 383 women. But now I'm having a rest because I am tired. But I just thought I'd jump on here and yeah, tell you about my marathon, and hope you're all running well, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.